Hello again, everybody. Welcome to the Backbone Podcast, where common sense still makes sense in a world that is sick and only getting sicker. And whether you're talking to men or to women, there's this new thing out there. It's not new, but if you meet a guy and he acts bizarre, he's giving you a red flag, right? And if it's a woman, it's so watch out. She's showing you a red flag, meaning that if she does something, if she talks back to you, or if she's mean, or she's flirty with other guys, that's considered a red flag. Well, for the homegirl next to us over here, you don't need a red flag for her. All you have to do is look into those empty eyes of just look at that. I mean, it's scary looking at her. They say that the eyes are the windows to the soul. Well, this woman here, this demon that is staring at us, she has no soul. You are only going to be looking through those eyes, and you will see hell at the other end, because that's what she's bringing to you. This demonic thing on 2 feet is hell. Well, she's walking hell. She has a site on TikTok here where she gives advice, and now she's talking about divorce. And this is the reason why women just if they feel like they're falling out of love, or if they're not really happy, instead of thinking, instead of using logic, which of course women don't have, instead of being introspective, instead of soul searching, they go on social media and they hear bitches like this who will tell her, well, if it's raining outside, get divorced. It's his fault. It's not your fault. It's his fault. Now, when we play this video, and if you can make it through it to the end, because it's very, very difficult. This is a vapid, evil demon here. This is Satan right here. When we say Satan is always busy, right there, that's his work. Just look at that face. Now, I'm not going to say, now listen, let's be honest here. She's cute, right? This is a hump right here. You don't fall in love with her. You don't even give her your real name or your real phone number. This is a one-night stand here. You do not get into any emotional or any type of relationship feelings in any type of way, because she'll destroy your life. She'll destroy you. So you keep it physical, little bedroom fun, and then you run away. Don't even take your real car. This is the bitch that you take an Uber and meet her somewhere. Don't bring her to your house, because she will take pictures. She will take pictures of your home. She'll take pictures of your license plate number. She's that you could tell she's that type of animal. Not even an animal. She's that type of demon. She's a witch. This is the type of person that puts spells on you. She talks to crystals and shit. All right. Let's see what homie has to say here. This is about 2 minutes and 34 seconds, and trust me, it will take every masculine fiber from God to get through it.
If you are an unhappily married woman who secretly contemplates divorce, this video is for you. And if you're not an unhappily married woman who contemplates divorce, I need you to watch it anyways. Maybe this will help you in the future, or maybe you know someone who needs to see this video and who you can share it with.
So that just plants the seed, right? One day you will be unhappy, and one day you will seek divorce. So this just plants the seed, what she's doing. And look at those eyes. There's nothing behind those eyes. Any chick that has her hair pulled back hard like that and is kind of sitting in a very aggressive posture, she didn't have a father, or she had a very, very weak father, or maybe a liberal father. A guy who probably was a closet homosexual, just didn't know it. Maybe he dressed better than mom.
Today would be my wedding anniversary, but instead I have been divorced for 6 years. I am the biggest fan of divorce.
Who in God's name would ever root and cheer for divorce? It is destroying the fabric of Western civilization, or at least trying to. And this monster here is a huge fan of it. She said in her own words. She's been divorced for 6 years. She's probably had a dozen guys run in and out of her. But she's supposedly happy, and she's not. She's not. I'll show you some stats later. Women after divorce, it's a thing where it's almost like chocolate. They feel good at the beginning, but then as the biochemical components in chocolate wear off, reality hits, especially when they hit the wall. And when they hit the wall, it ain't pretty.
Can't advocate enough for it. And so I wanted to share some.
So she can't advocate enough for it. So she wants other women, even if they're fine right now. She wants other women to wallow in the horror of her life. Because women, there's one thing about women, there's a lot of crazy things about women. But you will notice that women push divorce because they hate to see other women happy. Women who are older, women who are childless and older, when they see a younger woman with a husband, with a family, that drives them apeshit. And if you don't believe me, just look at the stats. If you don't believe me, read any fairy tale. And again, I talked about fairy tales before. If you read fairy tales were very, very dark, and the characters, some of them were evil, and most of the evil characters were older women, because older women lose their youth, they lose their beauty, and they lose the most important thing that makes them women, their fertility. So when a woman like this, who's probably childless, praise Jesus, imagine her raising something. Oh, Christ. I wouldn't even trust her with a dog. Oh. But whenever you see these older women, bitter, seething, fat, purple hair, they cannot stand to see the young, vibrant, fertile woman that is married, that has a husband, because they fucked up. They can't turn back the clock. See, if you're an older guy, I was very lucky. I had children at the right time for me. But if you're like in your mid 40s and you didn't find the one, there's a very good possibility you could meet a 30-year-old girl or 35-year-old girl. That's a little old, pushing it for children, and you might get one. You might get a baby out of it. You still have a chance. There are guys in their 50s and 60s who are first-time dads, which is, I couldn't imagine doing that. But for women, it's over. They have an expiration date, and their window shrinks every second of the day. And trust me, she's not ecstatic about being divorced. There's no way she's happy about this. When she's 65 and we can read her thoughts, you'll see a totally different woman. If we could read her thoughts now, she's a totally different woman. But let's get back to homie here.
Some things with you that might be happening that are signs that it is time to get divorced. I once asked an older former coworker of mine who had been divorced how I would know it was time to get divorced. And she told me that when you're asking people how to know when it's time to get divorced, then it's time to get divorced.
So Camille Paglia, who is one of the great feminist writers, actually, but she's got a brain. She said some very funny things, but very truthful things. And she once said that the last person a woman should take advice from is another woman. And that's absolutely true. Women are probably the dumbest species on the face of the earth. They could not live without men. They couldn't do it. Couldn't do it. You take men, and I'm talking about white Christian heterosexual males. You take white men off the planet, it's over. It's over. Over within 6 months, maybe sooner. So the last thing, if you're a lady watching this show, the last thing you want to do is take advice from another woman, because and you notice how she said older woman, they don't want to see you happy. A real person, a person with a soul, a person with love in their heart would say, okay, tell me what's going on. Show me what's going on. Maybe you're going through a rough patch. Maybe you're, you know, you have some sort of chemical imbalance thing going on. Who knows with these women, because they're, birth control has destroyed their minds too. Maybe something else is going on. Rather than going through a divorce, which breaks up a home, destroys children, ruins women financially, because women never recover financially. Let's examine some talking points here. But no, she took advice from an older woman who herself was in a failed marriage, who herself is bitter, who herself can't find another man, who can never have kids again. So her life is pretty much over. And she's telling this young dummy here, well, if you got to ask yourself if you got to get divorced, you need to get divorced. It's not that simple. This is a very, very woman-like way of thinking. It's an emotional way of thinking. Logically, somebody would sit down and you would meditate over this. You would weigh the pros and cons, but not women.
And so that's the first one. If you were asking people when to get divorced, it's time. But here are some other signs that it's time as well. Let's start with the one that I hope is the most obvious. If your husband or spouse, partner, whatever, is abusive in any way, shape, or form, there are like 9 different types of abuse: financial, physical, mental, all of that. If they are,
I want to know what financial abuse is. What's financial abuse? Oh, honey, I want to buy a $20,000 coat. No, dear, we can't afford it. Oh, you're financially abusing me. Honey, I want to go to a Disneyland for the 19th time this year. No, we really don't have the budget for it. Oh, well, that's financial. Is that financial abuse, sweetie? Define to me what financial abuse is. See, to me, abuse is, and I work with domestic violence victims, physical abuse, automatic. You got to walk away the first time it happens. If you're a man and a woman, because men do get physically abused too, but they're just too ashamed to admit it. But emotional abuse, verbal abuse, mental abuse. I mean, these things do happen. People are assholes, yes. And if you're in a toxic relationship, then you must go. But you gotta lay this out for me. First of all, if a guy is emotionally abusive, he didn't just start that way the minute he put the ring on your finger. Okay, you knew what you were getting into. Physical abuse is the same thing. They beat you before you get married. All the stats say that. Emotional abuse, that's the biggest crock I've ever heard, because that's what every broad in divorce court says. Oh, he emotionally abused me. What does that mean? He wasn't nice to you on a Friday night? He didn't want to go out on a Saturday? He told you looked a little fat in that outfit? Is that emotional abuse? The financial abuse is what gets me, because how do you prove that? And what is that? But anyway, I don't know. These women are just insane. And there's 9 different types of abuses. I got to look that up.
they are abusive in any category, it is time to get divorced.
Sure.
Aside from that, if you are Googling divorce laws in your state, it's time to get divorced.
Mhm.
If you find yourself wishing that they would just randomly die, time to get divorced.
Sure.
If you are lying to your friends and family about how they treat you so that they aren't hated, time to get divorced.
Sure.
If you question whether you're the problem, then it's time to get divorced.
So if you're the problem, if women are the problem, instead of looking in their souls and saying, how can I be a better person? You're going to cut tail and run and ruin your children's lives. If you have children. And I pray to Jesus she doesn't have kids. But this woman's advice is, if the woman is the problem, if the mother is the problem, if the wife is the problem, then she should just cut ties, break up her family, and get a divorce. Not sit down, look herself in the mirror and say, you know what am I doing wrong? Why do I feel this way? What could it be? No, it's get a lawyer, break up the home, try to get his pension, see my kids every other week, and hopefully I'll find a guy on one of these social dating sites who will just abuse me physically, who will just use me for sex. Because that's what divorce really is. Divorce is, Latin for getting different dick. That's what it is. Continue, honey.
If you find yourself saying he's not always like this or they're not always like this, time to get divorced.
That is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. He's not always like, what does that mean? You're making a life decision based on, well, if he's not like this, he's not always like this. He's not, people don't always act the exact same way every second of the day. Guys have bad days. Women certainly have bad weeks. When it's Shark Week, we can't deal with you bitches. And you're useless then because I'm not touching you down there. I mean, I have, but whatever. But how does a man change? When you get a little older, maybe you'll gain a little bit more weight. But if a guy change, what happens for better or for worse, for rich or for poor, for sickness and in health? Whatever happened to that? Let her go on. There's another minute of this.
If you find yourself pretending to be asleep so that you can avoid them, time to get divorced. If you have any signs of PTSD or anxiety, wondering when they come back, if you're hearing footsteps and you wonder if it's them, if you are, hearing a car drive by and you're wondering if it's them, time to get divorced. If you just know that your life will be exponentially easier and lighter and more enjoyable without them, then it's time to get divorced. And if you're staying because you're afraid of the logistics of getting divorced, if that sounds overwhelming to you, then it's time to get divorced. If you have stopped dreaming and you're saddened by the idea that your life may forever be the way that it is right now and things may never change, then it's time to get divorced.
So if you're saddened by the fact that you're a mother and you have a home and you're building and you have a family, get divorced. Because it'll be so much better for you when you're 45 and single and you have guys just chasing you just to tap your ass a few times and leave, because that's what happens. That's what happens. See, these dummies don't ever tell women what happens once they get divorced. Right? I mean, if you're of a certain age and you've dated women who are ex-wives, they're all fucked up. Every single one of them are messed up in the head. And this one is the cream of the crop. Anybody who takes advice, and TikTok is the most vapid thing I've ever seen. I like it because it makes me laugh and I get content out of this. It's crazy. But anybody who would take advice from something like this is mentally disturbed. You have to be mentally ill. And women, listen, they look for validation, and they look for validations from strangers. But she even said, if you hear a car outside and you think it's them, it's time to get divorced. No, honey, I think you have anxiety that goes beyond your husband. Maybe it's the Pinot Grigio that you're drinking that's fucking you up. Your hopes and dreams. If you think your life is going to be better, let me tell you something, baby. Your life won't be any better. Do you know how much the statistic was when I was getting divorced that 19% of women see a increase in quality of life? 19%. Do you know what the increase for men is? 72. That means in the long run that divorce is better for men than it is for women. 81% of women who get post-divorce have divorce remorse. But bitches like this won't tell you this because they lie to you, and they're looking for clicks, and they're looking for the 1,042 quotes and the 15,000 likes because they know what you dumbasses want to hear. It's predictable. And some of you women out there who are 35, 38 years old, who have frozen your eggs because you're going to be a mom on your terms, guess what? I'll do a podcast on that, where a lot of these women are finding out that once they hit 38, 40, their eggs are no good. Their eggs are not viable, and they're not fertile enough for that egg to turn into a baby. So they have nothing. That whole IVF thing is a scam. And you dumb bitches fell for it. You listen to a man. They wouldn't listen to they wouldn't listen to a man who, to get married because they didn't want to be led by a man, but they'll listen to a doctor who will steal their money, freeze their eggs, and then 10 years later say, hey honey, I'm sorry, you knew the risks, bitch.
Now, if you've made it this far, thank you for watching. And if you're divorced, go ahead and drop some others in the comments to help a girl out.
Yeah.
And if you're thinking about getting divorced, just go do it. But before you go do it, go talk to every single lawyer, even the most expensive ones, even the ones you can't afford, just so that your spouse can't use them. So I hope this helped.
That's actually, full disclosure, that's what I did. I went to the top 20 lawyers that were in my county because I knew she wasn't going to go, further out. And it's called polluting the water. So if you talk to the lawyer and you tell them the spouse's name and the situation, ethically, they cannot take the case for your wife. But right there, you saw a soulless, broken little girl. That's what she is. She's still upset. Her husband probably messed around with a younger, hotter chick, and that's why she got divorced. It wasn't up to her. And she's now looking for a misery cabal, because that's what women go for. They want their own cabal where divorce is great, we're all happy, but when they're by themselves with their 15 cats and their bottle of Chardonnay, watching, 51 First Dates or whatever that Adam Sandler movie is, they're crying. They're upset. And this is the same bitch who will go on other social media sites and this one and make another video saying how men suck. No one will approach her. Nobody wants her. They only want her for sex. Well, of course they do. Who would give up their life, their time for a soul-sucking mutant like you? Women constantly fall for the fake support system. When women are getting or get that divorce, they have a big time support system, whether it's their mothers, their sisters, their friends. Guys don't have that. Guys go through divorce alone. So yeah, it's easy. Well, not easy, but it's comforting for them to have their girls around them when they're getting divorced. But what happens when the smoke settles and now you have to find your own apartment, and now you have to pay your own insurance, and you have to pay for all this stuff on your own? Like I said, you can look up the stats yourself. Women suffer economically, emotionally, and mentally post-divorce at a much higher rate than any man would. And she's leading these women, unfortunately, to the cliff. She likes to have a community of divorced women, which is insane, which is demonic to me. But that's how women roll. Because as I said, women push for divorce because they hate to see other women happy, especially younger women. And she said it in the beginning of the video. She spoke to an older woman who was divorced, who gave her some of the worst advice you can give somebody. Hey, if a kid comes up to you in school and says, I don't like my teacher after day one, what are you going to say? All right, we'll get you another, we'll take you out of that school and bring you into another one. No. People go through rough patches in everything. Let me tell you something. It's hard dealing with women. They're emotional, they're petty. And like I said, when they're in their fertile years, they go through that Shark Week once a month, 12 times a year, and it sucks. But do guys leave? No. 13% of divorces are initiated by men. 13%. She's basically saying if it's raining outside and it makes you sad, get divorced. If he doesn't want to buy you a new car, get divorced. he doesn't want to take you on a trip, get divorced. I mean, whatever it is, whatever. She said that there's 9 forms of abuse out there, which I got to look at now. I got to look that up because I'm curious. That's ridiculous. I mean, this is the reason why no-fault divorce should be prohibited in the United States of America. And if you're a woman and you want to get divorced, and there isn't a valid reason, like physical abuse or infidelity, then a woman shouldn't receive any sort of economic support after the divorce from her husband, from her ex-husband. She's on her own. And yeah, even with children too, because she knows the risks. Because women are using divorce like they use abortion for birth control. Hey, I'm not in love with this guy anymore. He didn't do anything. I love him. He's this and that. But you know what? It's ran its course. And then when they hit 40, 45, 50, and all the guys that they like have already dicked them down, and they're too old, and nobody else wants them now, or at least the guys that they want don't want them anymore, the post-divorce woman sees a drastic decline in quality of life. And then in their 50s and 60s, they do the unthinkable. They either stay angry and celibate, like a lot of them are, get fat and they, color their hair purple, or they settle for less. They'll settle for a guy who's probably older than them, maybe, has a pension, and they'll just rot away. While the husband, between the ages of 40 and 55, that's a man's economic peak. So if you get divorced before you're 40, you're lucky, like I was. He might find a younger girl, and if he's stupid enough to get married, he might marry her and if he's even crazier to have kids with her, he'll have kids with her. But that is an upper climbing the ladder to a better life. And that would drive his ex-wife crazy. I've seen it, where ex-wives, they scream and yell about, oh, look at him. He married a girl that's 27 and he's 42, and she's going to have a baby in a year. He's an asshole. Well, she's doing something that you couldn't do, honey. She's making him happy. She's probably not busting his balls. And she's emptying his balls. Well, you couldn't do that. Be careful out there, gentlemen. These women, it really is. It's crazy what this world is coming to now. What Western civilization is coming to now. And like I said, this is the fault of feminism. Number one, this is the 4th phase of feminism, and of course, no-fault divorce is a huge, huge issue. And I don't think it should be prohibited, but it should be prohibited. It shouldn't be tolerated. But what do we say? The only thing we can do is pray to God and hope for better days ahead. All right. Well, that's my 2 cents. Thank you again for watching. Please like, subscribe, comment, and share. Be careful out there, my friends. As you can see from Homegirl over here, Satan is always busy, and he is dressed like her. Oh, my God. I mean, look at that face. Look at those eyes. That's scary. Be a man, have a backbone, because masculinity and common sense are worth standing up for. And remember, if it ends in an ism, it's a mental disorder. Have a good weekend.